Welcome to the Fantasy 40 podcast with your host, John Dabari.
I can beat the shit out of Hollywood Brown if you'd like.
Matt Walker.
Like the DK Metcalf of running back.
And Andrew Berg.
I love Hakeem Butler, actually. He's starting to grow on me.
Remember to like, rate, subscribe on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Follow the guys on Twitter at the Fantasy 40. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Fantasy 40 podcast. We are back. Myself, Andrew Burke, John Dabari, and Matt Walker. Combine's done. We got to witness all the guys in their, I don't want to call them underwear. Now they're like one-piece suits walk. But what'd you take away from the Combine? They added some new drills and whatnot. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a nice barometer. I didn't get to watch a ton of it, so I didn't get to see a lot of the drill work. But we have instant access to all of these numbers, which is something I use for my post-combine analysis. So I caught a little bit of the actual combine itself, but no, it was interesting as usual, and the way they moved it to prime time doesn't surprise me with the NFL. They want to monopolize everything, so another business decision for the NFL, doing all the drills and all at night. So it was interesting. Yeah, and I just want to see where they go in the future, because I'm pretty sure that was the last year was in Indy. It's now going to start moving around to different NFL facilities in the future.
That's convenient. I was going to ask you, John, how you felt about the old prime time schedule that they were doing.
As an old grumpy man, I hated every second of it. I don't like change. I like getting up in the morning, especially being on the West Coast. I like getting up, having some coffee, spending my day watching the Combine. Having it at night was actually a big FU to my life. I was not a fan at all. I hated every second of it.
Yeah, I didn't catch much. I just watched the old rundowns on YouTube. It's a little easier than sitting there listening to Kurt Warner bash on quarterbacks, how they're not doing what he would do. So we'll start there real quick. Quarterbacks, we're not going to go too deep into it, but one of the shining stars, John, was your guy, Love there. What did anybody else stand out, or just Love?
I mean, in the last pod, I talked about not being impressed with this class overall, and that was just solidified watching him throw. I mean, I think Herbert looked better, but his the complaints against him had nothing to do with football talent. They're worried about his leadership and, all that weird personality shit that comes up every couple of years. But, I mean, Tua and Burrow didn't do anything. Those are the top two guys. So after that, you're picking through the rest of it, hoping to see a little flash from somebody. And I mean, I don't think anybody did anything to look amazing. The few good guys in that second tier, Love, Herbert, Jalen Hurts, they kind of solidified themselves in that second tier for most people, and the other guys kind of fell off a bit. I thought that Montez kid looked okay, but everybody else was kind of meh, and Fromm was terrible.
Yeah. That guy didn't do anything. Walk anything?
Yeah, not a lot to see there. And Justin Herbert, I mean, kind of sneaky athletic. I mean, we all knew that Jalen Hurts was going to come out and run fast with his 4.59, but Herbert at 6'6", 236, ran a 4.68, decent three-cone with a pretty good vert. I think he had one of the highest verts for quarterbacks and a decent broad jump as well. So wasn't expecting him. I know it's not like he's lead-footed, but I think he was a little surprising as far as athleticism was concerned. And yeah, Love has all the tools. I mean, he's the project guy that everyone wants to already compare to Patrick Mahomes, but I still just think he's a project at the end of the day. So he's not going to crack my top three regardless. I mean, maybe he'll get to three. He's not going to go above Barrow or Tua regardless for me. I don't care where he ends up.
Yeah, and then a lot of people are mocking Herbert to the Patriots, so I'm ready for the draft already. Let's just go to the running backs, not too much in the quarterbacks. Jonathan Taylor, impressed. I guess a lot of people moving up the boards. What do you have to say about him, Walk?
Yeah, I moved Jonathan Taylor to my running back one just prior to the Combine of doing a little more digging into him, and I wanted my knock on him was one, Wisconsin, and John and I spoke at length about that and having to try and remove that bias from things. But two, just the workload that he had at Wisconsin, and it's like over 1,000 touches total for him in his 3 years at Wisconsin. But the guy was never hurt. I mean, and it will be an eventuality in the NFL. Everyone gets hurt, but I'm not going to assume injury for him when it hasn't happened thus far. So I was impressed. I thought he was going to run fast. A lot of people were divided on what Taylor was actually going to do at the combine, but put a 4.39 up there at 5'10" and 226 pounds. And that is some tasty stuff. I mean, it's only straight line speed, but Taylor is a pure running back all day. My only concern with him still is, will he be a fixture in the passing game wherever he ends up? That's my only negative on Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, everyone's concerned about that workload. So, I mean, John, you got anything to add there?
No, I too have regrettably now bumped him up to RB1.
Yes.
Also. I wasn't shocked at the time. He was a track kid in high school, and I don't know if he track at Wisconsin, but he's got a track background. I heard interviews with him that he was anticipating to do the low 4.4s, maybe a hair better, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, he just went under 4.39 or 4.37, I don't remember, but just under that threshold. And really, aside from, he stood out. This class overall, I think, at all positions was pretty disappointing at the combine. So it didn't take much to stand out. I mean, his performance would look good any year, but especially with the rest of this group, I think he was already a lot of people's RB1, and he just solidified that and moved up for the people that didn't have him there.
Yeah, the unfortunateness of Taylor was that his shuttle was just like his 3-cone was decent. Didn't really show much on the bench, even though he's a bigger guy. Average vert, average broad. So the rest of that athletic testing wasn't like otherworldly, but that 4.39 speed for a 226-pound back, can't teach speed.
No, he's moving a little bit. Two guys that I'm curious what you guys think there after the combine. They're almost exactly identical with all their numbers that they put up in the combine is Swift and Akers. I'm a big fan of Akers. Who do you like better, Walk?
I still have Swift above him just from what I've seen on tape, and that's where Swift was my 2. Akers I like a lot. I think in a different environment, if Akers were in Georgia with that O-line and that team, who knows what Akers would have been capable, the numbers he would have been capable of putting up, because Florida State was just dreadful. But Akers a bigger back, actually, at 5'10", 217 than Swift. I do like seeing that, but you're right. Just about everything else they did was virtually identical. Now, Swift didn't do the shuttle or 3-cone or the bench, so he's a little incomplete, but I liked what I seen from Akers in total, but Swift would still be my RB2 at present.
Where do you have, he's your RB2? I mean, it's all landing spot dependent. Where would a good spot be for Akers, John?
I mean, that's a good question. I've been saying for a while, I think, obviously the easy answer is wherever he's going to get volume, but I don't think that's going to be a thing much. And I think a lot of the teams that would go volume heavy, like the Jacksonvilles and Dallases of the world, they already have somebody in place. So I'm almost to the point where a lot of these guys, unless they're landing as the backup in like Dallas or Jacksonville, they're in a good spot. I think a lot of teams are going to go full running back by committee. And I think, like I said, with the exception of going behind Gurley or Fournette or Zeke, I think they're all going to land in spots that are fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I was going to say Houston, but I know they need to shore up the offensive line first. It wouldn't be much of a change from Florida State to Houston. Walk, you got any ideas in mind?
No, I mean, Houston is just perennially an option as they just rent backs down there with Bill O'Brien. But I don't know, Akers, I was thinking stay in the area, and Tampa Bay or Atlanta would be amazing fits.
Ooh, I like that.
For Cam Akers. More Atlanta, and I saw something Garrett Price at the Dynasty Nerds put out the official visits in a Twitter string, and Atlanta appears to have spoken to every single running back eligible in this year's draft. So either it's a total smokescreen or they're really peeling back the onion to find the next Devonta Freeman.
Don't you think they would bring in Swift? Like if they had their choice.
Georgia kid, sure.
That's what I mean. Keep it
go earlier
local.
than Akers.
Sorry. I like his skill set too to fit that offense a little more than Akers and Taylor.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I like Swift. Swift didn't do anything wrong to be my RB2. It's just the more I looked at Taylor,
yeah,
the more I came around on him. So it wasn't that Swift lost the RB1 designation for me. Taylor's just a better back, in my opinion.
Correct.
Especially for dynasty purposes, where you need that volume right out of the gate, and I'm only looking at 3 to 4 years, and that screams Taylor. DeAndre Swift, they have to use him in the passing game as well, and we've seen you put that Josh Jacobs Roto-World blurb in our DM chat, where I still can't understand why he didn't have 50 receptions last year, but he didn't, and it's only because of Jalen Richard was in the backfield too. Like, give me a break. It's indefensible, but it happened. We saw it. Like Josh Jacobs could have been a top 5 running back last year.
Sure.
If he got reasonable passing volume and an offense that throws to the running back. That could happen to Swift. He could end up somewhere where he might get 18 carries a game, but he's struggling to get 1 or 2 catches. It's possible. And I think Swift needs to kind of have that 3 to 4 catch per game opportunity to really maximize his value.
Yeah, I'm looking down this list, and there's a name that I'm not too familiar with, but he seems to have tested well, Walk. Do you know anything about Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State?
Well, let me tip of the cap to our own John DeBari here and pass this right over to him, because on a previous episode, this gentleman I only knew his name because John put him in his, I believe, top 12.
Without a boy,
13.
My apologies. Just outside. Just missed the cut. So, John, do you want to speak about Darrington Evans? Because I know a little bit more about him now, but all combine related.
I mean, I haven't seen a ton of tape. The little bit I've seen I liked, and he tested really well. I mean, going off, we talked about it before we started recording, but Kent Lee Platt's relative athletic score, he was one of the top scorers, 9.57, which 10 is the cap for Ken's metric. But I just think he's got – and did you guys see his workout at the combine or no?
I did not.
So he looked good too. I mean, he was really fluid. His footwork was good. He looked okay, catching balls, running around out there. I mean, he looked fluid, and that's one of the main things I look for at when I'm watching the combine. I mean, you guys have seen it enough. Some guys, I don't have a better term for it than herky-jerky. I mean, some guys look awkward. It doesn't look like it comes to him natural. And, I mean, he's definitely an athlete. Ran a 4.4, 140, 20 reps on the bench, vertical at 37, broad jump 125. He didn't do 3-cone or the shuttle, so his agility testing's a little unknown. But, I mean, those are pretty good scores. And Appalachian State has – when did they turn to D1? Like 5 years ago now? And even when they were –
the answer to that question is it doesn't matter. It's still Appalachian State. But to your point, John, Darrington Evans is top 5 as far as 3 Sigma athletes PSWAR scores as well. So it translates to what you're looking at from his relative athletic score. And I looked at some of his tape after you brought it to my attention. I did like him. He hit the 20 reception threshold in his junior year. He had a monster year, 23 touchdowns, almost 1,700 all-purpose. But kick returns as well. I love seeing when they got guys on kick return teams. Now, with Appalachian State, it doesn't surprise me that clearly their best athlete is going to be used to the best of their ability. Some better programs don't need to expose, their best player in the return game. But he returned kicks all 3 seasons at Appalachian State, and that just shows, just kind of that dynamic ability that the numbers that you just read off kind of entail. So I'm curious about Darrington Evans. I still just question, competition, and so he's a wait and see for me. I want to see what the NFL really thinks about him, because in that case, he's a mid to late day 3 in my opinion.
I got a fun stat for you, very Kareem Hunt-esque. 482 carries, never fumbled.
Uh-oh. You know what that means, opening day.
There, fellas.
And then here's another one. This is from Lance Zierlein's review of him, but it says good blitz pickup in chip block. You don't see that much, especially from a smaller school guy. So it already sounds like his pass blocking is decent. So even if he does fall to the day 3, like Walker's saying, which he probably will, if he can come in and pass block, he could see the field early if he's on a team that needs someone who could come in on third downs and at least protect the quarterback.
I just have a weird feeling. Something about Green Bay. They're talking about.
Don't do that to us.
They want like 5 guys in the backfield.
Wouldn't be surprised. The guy I would have preferred to talk about was number 6 on the list is Rico Dowdle. I brought him up to John from South Carolina. This dude was like a perennial underperformer out South Carolina, but I loved this kid's tape. It made me like question his actual counting stats because he was a 4-year player at South Carolina and only just eclipsed 2,100 rushing yards for the career. But just the way he runs, his build, they had him at 6'2", 215. He's actually 5'11", 213. But interesting to me, doesn't have a complete profile as well, but ran a 4.5, 4.40 and a decent vert and broad number. So a little athletic. He's going to be another draft capital guy that if he gets drafted, before round 5, by round 5, I'm interested. If he's around 6 or 7, I'm not going to give a shit about him.
Well, let's who are one of your like biggest movers, John, from your pre-combine ranks, and
Let's
now
take a look. Sees.
I can tell you who moved down for him.
I think just a quick glance I haven't tallied it up yet. I think Keyshawn Vaughn from Vanderbilt is my biggest mover. He went 4 spots up, I believe.
That's interesting because he didn't. Do you think he had a good combine?
I thought he looked good out there. I mean, I know his numbers weren't incredible, but like I just said earlier, a lot of it, he just looked fluid to me. I mean, it wasn't, he passed my eyeball test, and I'm no scout but he's 214. He ran a 4.51, which isn't great. Vertical 32, also not great. Broad jump 117. I like to see 120. So it wasn't amazing, but I liked he's someone who I've liked their tape more than anything at the combine, but kind of, you had mentioned before with bumping Swift down a couple spots, not based on anything he did, but other people. That was kind of the thing with Vaughn. I liked him a little bit, but the guys I had ahead of him, I bumped lower more than anything, but I was impressed. I watched probably between the first show we did talking rookies and then today, I probably saw the most tape of him of anybody. And I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, he's a good tape player. His combine, I didn't think it was good at all. Again, just talking about his numbers, I didn't see the on-the-field work. But
he's no Zach Moss as far as being shitty.
We're gonna get there. Believe me, I'm not gonna not take that punch. But yeah, I mean, Vaughn just very average athletically, and he's already 23 years old, which is another red flag for me. He's a guy where I'm like, I can't just fall on the tape. I can't. Like, there's not enough to defend it athletically. I don't think he'll end up having a draft capital, unfortunately. The guy I thought you were going to talk about as far as a mover was for a faller because you're an eternal pessimist, and I swore you were going to talk about Anthony McFarland.
Oh, I thought he said mover uppers.
Yeah, listen, you could hear what you want. It's rare that you hear something positive. You could have said mover upper, and you still could have shit on someone. But Keyshawn Vaughn wouldn't be moving up for me. You referenced Zach Moss. Zach Moss was my running back 5 pre-combine, and I was told that he hurt himself running the 40, which everyone that runs a 4.65 hurts himself running the 40. And he'll probably do better on his pro day because everyone does better on their pro day. But it was tough to see.
Not Elijah Holyfield.
Listen, when you're physically incapable, you're physically incapable. But numbers just weren't good all around. I mean, didn't do the broad or the 3 count, which is probably a good thing. But his shuttle wasn't good. His vert wasn't good. His bench was average for a 223-pound back. I mean, he put up 19, but he's a stout kid with NFL bloodline. So it hurt to see. That was a guy, his tape. Oh, God, I love his tape. He looks like a guy I want him on the Eagles as a running back. So I wanted him to be better. But 4.65 isn't going to cut it in the NFL. So he was an unfortunate faller for me. There wasn't many guys that really rose, in my opinion. I guess Eno Benjamin, just because I was really low on Benjamin. And he had a good combine, packed on a ton of weight after the Senior Bowl to come in at 207, did pretty well, all things being considered. 4.57, not terrible. Under a 7-second 3-cone, which is a solid number. Terrible bench, but again, that's a bench. 39 vert, and a decent broad as well. So I think Benjamin helped his cause at the combine, in my opinion, if we're talking about risers.
I've got another one that you were not very high on, and I'm curious if he rose at all for you because he was already high for me, and I bumped him a hair. Mr. A.J. Dillon.
No, I mean, the shock of the combine wasn't that Henry Ruggs almost broke John Ross's 40 time. It was AJ 6 foot 247 pound Dillon breaking the combine. I mean, hot running back one on 3 Sigma Athletes score at 96.7% NFL percentage. Just nothing. I can't say anything bad about him other than his numbers didn't correspond to his tape, in my opinion.
See, I don't think his tape is bad.
I think it's bad, but he doesn't look athletic. He looks powerful. I just don't see a lot of dynamic ability in the tape. I think he's a good player. I didn't see a 4.53 40 on tape. I didn't see a 41-inch vert. That's for damn sure. His broad was tops of all running backs as well. I mean, top vert and broad for a 247-pound running back is insane. I just can't argue it, but I'm still not there. He won't be top 5 for me. He'll move into probably my top 10 at this point, but I still just think he's a limited running back, and a lot of teams aren't looking for that mold of player. That's where I'm at. So you can only go so far. Where do you think the earliest he gets drafted is? The literal best case scenario.
Best case scenario?
Yeah.
Round 3.
I agree. I think that is the absolute ceiling for him.
That isn't necessarily a reflection of him. It's more of what the NFL is nowadays. Right before we started, I was getting in this Twitter conversation. I just wrote it down and I can't find it. But, I mean, teams just aren't drafting guys in rounds 1 and barely round 2.
I agree. I mean, I don't think 10 running backs are going before him by round 3. I don't think he goes in round 3. I think he's a day 3 guy.
You're probably right.
When it's all said and done, and I believe that's his ceiling is 4, round 4. And that just means less opportunity. The kid, 21 career catches to his name. Again, just not in 3 years at Boston College, across 845 rushing attempts. Like, Jonathan Taylor was limited. This dude was non-existent in the passing game. Now his totals look decent because he had 236 yards and 2 touchdowns on those catches, but just a 0 in the passing game. And that's not the end-all be-all because some guys came into the league with limited, receiving stats and were able to, be productive like Leonard Fournette and to a certain degree Derrick Henry and all. But I don't want to assume that he's going to be better at that than he was in 3 years of college as the focal point in Boston College.
Real quick, just to talk about going in round 3 or before even, not that he is, but last year, first and second round, 2 running backs taken. 2018 was a little crazy, 7 in the first 2 rounds. 2017, 4. 2016, 2. 2015, 4. So even if you're the running back 5 in a draft class, you're probably looking at late day 2 or early day 3. It's not a position that they're paying for, which we obviously already know. But when I didn't know the numbers were that bad. I ran them right before we started recording.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly a devalued position. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I just think A.J. Dillon type players aren't being thought of in the first 2 days whatsoever. I mean, there are guys that at a certain point are like, oh, we can bring that guy in. He'll be a closer, a bruising back that can complement player A on our team. That's what A.J. Dillon looks like to me.
So here, just
like that Cincinnati guy, what's his name? That they had for a while that went with Gio. What was his name? He went to the Patriots for a while.
Jeremy Hill.
Jeremy
Hill.
Yeah, I mean, like that. And I think Jeremy Hill is a better running back in college than A.J. Dillon is.
I take that back.
At present. But, that aside, I just can't get there. I mean, he's totally impressed. Kudos to him for what he was able to accomplish at his size, but it didn't win me over.
So just to make up a scenario real quick, let's say Miami's the first team that comes to mind that has nothing in the backfield right now. If Miami were to bring in Eckler and A.J. Dillon, how do you feel about him then? Where Eckler is going to be the passing down guy and Dillon is going to be their first 2-down guy. Do you like him more or less?
I don't really like any running back in Miami at this point.
I was going to say they're 2 years away from relevancy. So yeah, while they Kalen Ballage style run him into the offensive line for 2 seasons.
Well, I was just picking a team that needed both.
Well, I just
roles.
saying they had Drake and they didn't even use him the right way. So what thinks you?
They also had Minka Fitzpatrick and fucking Laramie Tunsil, and they let them both go. And now they're going to draft a safety, an offensive tackle, and a running back in the first.
I just feel bad for whoever lands there, period.
So I don't necessarily disagree with the trades that the Dolphins made, but that's for a later show. Let me give you my hypothetical scenario. A.J. Dillon and Zach Moss are both drafted in the 5th round in reasonably similar landing spots. I am taking Zach Moss 100 times out of 100 over A.J.
Oh, not me, not even close.
What fake happened to J.K. Dobbins that he didn't do any of the combine metric? I don't disagree with him. Like, if you can get away with not doing it, don't go to your pro day. But did he fake an injury? I don't honestly know.
What's funny is you bring that up. That transitions great into wide receivers because I have the same question about fucking T. Higgins. So whatever mystery flu one of them got, the other one caught it. But I don't know.
I mean,
he said he sprained his ankle, I believe, in the last game Ohio State played, so he wasn't 100% healthy yet.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I get it. I mean, listen, Chase Young came out and said, I'm not doing any of the testing here because I'm not training to win the combine. Like, he just flat out said, like, if you don't like my tape, pound sand, like that I'm okay with. But all these, like, oh, I'm hurt, I'm doing this. Like, I want to see everyone apples to apples. Like, let me see your numbers on the same field, measured the same way by the same people. Like, anything you do at your pro day, I just almost disregard, so it's not going to help my opinion of J.K. Dobbins, who I like. He's a top 5 back for me, but a lot of people have him at 1 and I'm just not there. And I just wanted to see him on the field. So
no, I actually bumped him down for not going.
Take that, J.K.
Yeah, but like you said, man, some of the tape doesn't really lie. I mean, if you're a proponent of the tape, I mean, he's done enough, to put on film that you can, fall in love with. So,
yeah, pivoting to wide receivers unintentionally. T. Higgins said, "Oh well, we just played our last game 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I needed to rest and don't have enough time to fully prep for all the events." It's like, okay, buddy, okay.
Yeah, listen, he saw a bunch of size-wise comparable individuals putting up strong numbers and was like, I don't think this is going to look too good for me, so let's take it back to Clemson.
It's definitely intriguing, but let's dive into these wide receivers a little bit before the show. You guys were talking about Reagor kind of disappointing in the 40, but let's start with disappointments. Let's get the train rolling, John.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, a lot of people probably don't agree, but I don't think Jerry Jeudy had a great combine. I mean, he ran okay. What did he run? A 4.45. But he was a guy some people were talking about, hey, he might be down in the 4.3s. So a 4.45, when people are expecting a 4.39 or less, was not good. He wasn't particularly explosive. His vertical was 35. His broad was 120. The 120 is okay. And then, his thing is he's a strong route runner, change direction guy, blah, blah, blah. He ran a 4.53 in the 20-yard shuttle, which is not a good time.
No, it is not. And I agree with you. Yeah, he was 20. He's currently a 22nd percentile NFL athlete, and he didn't do a few. He didn't do the 3-cone or the bench, but the things he did do, he didn't do well. Like 4.53 shuttle, 35 vert, no, 10-foot broad, just okay. Yeah, just didn't surprise positively in any way, shape, or form as a 6'1", 193-pound individual. No, it's not like he's going to get weight adjusted to bump him up. I mean, listen, you need to add weight in the NFL, son. So that 4.45 is going to get a tick slower once he gets to 2.05.
I'm trying to think who has these poor of numbers that was highly touted and then kind of fell off the map of recency. Maybe Riley Ridley had better numbers.
Sounds like Laquan Treadwell to me. Yeah, I mean, listen. He should have looked over at T. Higgins and been like, "Yeah, we played football recently too. I'm not ready to run."
Here, so plug in Jerry Jeudy into Mock Draftable to give some comparables at wide receiver.
No.
His most comparable is someone named Jonathan Holland, who I've never even heard of. The only names you've heard of: Adam Thielen, Byron Pringle, Lavernius Coles.
Oh.
And that's it. I mean, yeah, his comps are not very favorable based on his athletic profile. I mean, obviously.
Lavernius Coles is your high watermark. There is a fucking trader coming.
That is quite.
He was already. I mean, I have him ranked high because I trust other people's opinions. But he was a guy who I'm not drafting high enough to get him. But even if he fell to me, boy, am I trading out of that pick. He's someone who I haven't been a fan of from the very beginning. I don't know what it is necessarily. I just never been a fan. So now that this kind of solidified my opinion, I hope he falls to me so I can get something traded out of my picks.
Yeah, see, I like Jeudy. I believe in his tape still, but he has certainly fallen down. He's not wide receiver 2 for me anymore. CeeDee Lamb was always wide receiver 1, but yeah, it's going in the wrong direction for Jerry Jeudy, and that's unfortunate because I liked the player, but he's just looking extremely average athletically, and that matters. I mean, it's not something that we can just not look at. You know, his production was solid his sophomore and junior years at Alabama, but that's not going to get you drafted in my top 5.
You know whose tape I did like was Ruggs' basketball tape. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that made more rounds than this fucking
What's he
pulling
doing
up lame at the combine.
Listen, that was in high school too.
I know. What's he doing go to the NFL, man?
The Russell Westbrook of high school basketball. Dude was just banging on everybody.
And violent.
But listen, if they put that tape out a week earlier, we'd be like, oh, of course, his 42-inch vert makes sense. You know, that dude jumping through the fucking roof, you know, with almost an 11-foot broad jump. Like, yeah, all those numbers make sense when you see that explosion running a 4.27. I mean, it's still going to be hard pressed to get there on Ruggs. But talk about the polar opposite of Jerry Jeudy. Ruggs is a 99% NFL athlete. I mean, they are literally night and day as far as prospects are concerned. And it's going to be so interesting to see how the NFL values these two when Jeudy was the production and the route running, and Ruggs is literally the athlete.
Comparing Ruggs on Mock Draftable, similar athletes: Santonio Holmes, Corey Coleman, Santana Moss, Darius Slayton, oh my, and Paris Campbell. So he's got better comps too.
Yeah, it doesn't.
At least they didn't throw John Ross in there.
But
I've been hearing
lumping
a lot of that.
I mean, just because they're fast, people are lazy. But Ruggs, comparing Ruggs to somebody else, you know, he came up a little lame after that 40. Your boy Walker, Mr. Laviska Shenault, one of the knocks on him was staying healthy, and you know he can't even make it through the combine. So I bumped him down quite a bit just because his ability to stay on the field is a significant concern.
John, you're not allowed to use that voice when you talk bad about guys I like. You have to reserve it for guys you and I both hate. Okay,
Fair.
Laviska Shenault Jr. Because remember, 2 episodes ago, John, we loved Viska. So you can't fall off the train just yet. The dude has what I read was like a detached pubic bone, some otherworldly injury where his crotch is falling off, for lack of a better term. Like, why the fuck is this guy even running the 40? He needs to fire his agent. He needs to fire his agent's agent. He needs to stop talking to his family. This kid needs to put himself in a training rehab bubble get his pubic bone back in place and hopefully blow up the testing at Colorado Pro Day, hopefully, because I agree it wasn't the best show, but still love him. I mean, he's going to be a guy I hope falls to value. If I can get him late first, early second in drafts, I'll take that risk given his upside. But Chenault's a guy that he will miss games just about every year. I mean, just the way he plays, what it looked like for him in college. If you think he's a 16-game guy when you're drafting him, shame on you. He's a guy that, if he's active, you trust it. If he's not, you understand why, because he plays a little recklessly, which leads to him getting banged up. I get somewhat of a Sammy Watkins vibe from Chenault. I do, where I believe in the talent, the upside. The injuries are just what's going to derail things. That's what's going to be his, what's going to doom him is if he can't get a handle on these injuries.
Anytime you can get the chance to mention Sammy Watkins, you go for it, don't you, Walk?
I do. You want to talk about tight ends? We can drop a bunch of names too. I mean, it's unfortunate. He didn't help his cause. That's for sure. And who knows if he'll even be healthy enough at his pro day to change that. But someone could get a steal because he's not going in the first round now whatsoever. In my opinion, he's a day 2 guy, so he could end up falling in a better situation potentially.
The guy that's on top of the list that's pretty intriguing is old Peoples-Jones. Walk, you got anything there?
Yeah, I think he was my wide receiver 10 pre-combine. The dude, if I'm not mistaken, was the wide receiver 1 in his draft class. Or it's not his draft class, in his, what the fuck did they call it? I'm not a Devy guy, John. Going into college? What's that called?
5-star. He was a 5-star.
He's a 5-star recruit in his class. And, decent size, 6'1", 212, absolutely torched the combine. 4.48, which is, I'll take that 40 all day long. 44.5-inch vert with an almost 12-foot broad. Like, that is explosion. Didn't do the shuttle to 3-cone wisely because no one did it well. It looks like at the combine outside of Denzel's 3-cone. So I think more and more guys are going to opt out of certain testing. The bench is a little concerning. It's like, it is what it is. I mean, you could be a 12 bench receiver and be decent. So I don't know what you're missing unless he has a shoulder injury, but big kid, almost 80-inch wingspan. I like him. He was in a bad situation in Michigan. Shea Patterson is the dumpster fire of a quarterback. I mean, he's literally the Cam Akers of the wide receiver position, in my opinion, where it's a big name school that did him absolutely no favors while he was there. So I like Peoples-Jones. I'll have a decent amount of Peoples-Jones in the second round of my rookie drafts if people don't come around.
Yeah, that's looks like going to be one of my targets as well. John, anything to add there?
Again, Wyman Walker brought it up with his trash quarterback play. Never had a 100-yard game.
Ooh.
Correct.
That's pretty terrifying.
Listen, he had 1,300 yards in his career in college. So I don't think it's that much of a surprise.
I'm scared if he falls to value, I'm okay, but I'm pretty terrified currently.
Listen, I forget who it was that was talking about, is Joe Burrow a product of Joe Brady and LSU, and what did that do to every one of his teammates that we're talking about now? I mean, we didn't even reference Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the running back section, probably because he didn't do that well in the combine. We haven't talked about Justin Jefferson yet, who had a really good combine as far as I'm concerned. But they literally were in the most prolific offense of all time, to put up some of their counting stats. I mean, Justin Jefferson's 2019 was a better statistic season than Peoples-Jones' career at Michigan. I mean, that's the reality. Can't change it. But I just like what I saw. He was a high profile prospect coming out. I did like the tape that I watched of him, and then he tested extremely well athletically. So I'm here for all the Donovan's Peoples-Jones, and I just hope he gets a decent landing spot. He's not ever going to be a wide receiver 1, but I think he can be a wide receiver 2. There's a
like
ton
a Gallup guy or something.
Yeah. Well, listen, Gallup might be a wide receiver 1 soon, my man. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But it's for another time. But I hope people just don't buy the athletic testing and they look back at his production numbers he's had in Michigan.
He seems like a Bills guy. Seems like a guy the Bills would draft and perennial be a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, that would be terrible. I mean, he's a guy they could use there. He's by all accounts, a bigger body guy than what they have in John Brown and Cole Beasley. But he's not like one of these huge Chase Claypool semi-move tight ends, or even Justin Jefferson. Not Justin Jefferson. Who am I thinking of? Desmond Patton and those types that are 6'2", 6'3", Denzel Mims. Those are bigger bodies, I think, make sure in Buffalo. But if People Jones goes to Buffalo, it might be a slight ding to him.
Yeah. I mean, what was the last one they took? Zay Jones? We thought we were going to get tons of production there.
The Levitator?
Probably overdrafted quite a bit in your rookie draft.
Oh, did I?
I hated Zay Jones and was talked into loving him because of his production at Eastern Carolina.
ECU, yeah.
He went to school.
The Pirates.
I only got him in like 2 places, but it was just painful to see his name on my team known to never be anything until I, glory cut him, a few years ago.
I have an unintentional ECU bias. I loved Justin Hardy and Zay Jones. I'm not going down that road anymore. I don't give a fuck who comes out of ECU. I'm done.
I was going to say, there's no one in this class, so you save yourself from the ECU curse.
You got yourself an extra pick. But let's dive into Jefferson. Just because, obviously, Burrow had, like you said earlier, one of the most prolific seasons. Do you think, it was just because of Burrow, or did Jefferson really show some stuff on tape that you like, Walk?
I like Jefferson. I mean, it makes life a lot easier when Jamar Chase is commanding like double and triple teams on the opposite side of the field. And Jefferson running out of the slot at 6'1", 202. That's a big slot. That's what we like to see, so he's not playing on press coverage. He's getting free releases, and he's able to use the speed he has for his size, and he has good after the catch ability. Like I like Jefferson. 4.43 speed at 6'1", 202 is nothing to scoff at. Didn't do any of the shuttle 3-cone bench work, but a decent vert and broad. I'm a fan. Justin Jefferson's going to be climbing up my board. I think he's going to get the draft capital as well to support that. And while that his junior season, like I said, 1,540 yards on 111 catches and 18 touchdowns was more than Donovan Peoples-Jones' Michigan career. That was still, that was the magical LSU season that I don't think.
I mean, he probably almost topped that in just the playoffs because he was going off. You know what I mean?
he was impressive, and he was on the biggest stage, and he didn't fall back into the shadows with the Joe Burrows and the Jamar Chases of the world. Like, he was extremely productive in an offense that had a lot of weapons. Even Thaddeus Moss, the kid that came out of it, I think he has a Jones fracture. Like they have 4 offensive skill players that will be drafted in this draft. They came out, and their best player isn't coming out till next year potentially. So the best, I'm not going to say he's better than Burrow. I believe he is, but it's quarterback to wide receiver. But you know where I'm going with that.
Well, John, you were a big proponent on 2020 draft with the receivers. How do you feel now?
Poor. I feel like shit. No, I mean, I think it's still okay. I think it's a deep class. I don't love the very top anymore. Like I said, Higgins not testing. I think CeeDee Lamb looked good. Judy kind of letting people down. Chenault and Rager not doing what everybody kind of expected. So the guys I initially had in that top tier, and then my man crush Brian Edwards breaking his foot with a Jones fracture too. My top took a hit, so I don't love the top so much. But depth-wise, I mean, if you get down into, my late teens and rankings, I really like a lot of the guys I have down there. I mean, I like them based on value. I actually like them more than the top of this class now. So, as usual, I'll be doing a lot of trading back, but yeah, I like the depth more than I initially did, but I don't think it's as top heavy as I did prior to the combine.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, John, because I'm going the other way. I'm probably trading up. So, leagues we're in, let's talk.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to get more darts for the back end of this draft. It's just too much uncertainty. I want to go with the guys I like, at this point in time, because we got a lot of incomplete profiles. We're going to get anything more out of Brian Edwards with the broken foot, but fuck, I loved his tape. I love Brian Edwards. It just scares the shit out of me with wide receivers and feet. Laviska Shenault hurt, and T. Higgins not participating. Tyler Johnson, your boy Van Jefferson, all just DMP of the combine, just leaves a lot to be desired. And they were names I was extremely interested in seeing. It's unfortunate. So I'm confused. I think this combine raised more questions than it did, answers for me, which is typically not the case, because I usually have a pretty firm opinion of a guy I like or don't based on a tape. And then, it's either going to confirm it one way or the other on their metrics, or it makes me go back and look. I didn't get a lot of that from this combine, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to rely a lot on draft capital this year.
And that's not good, for
no, sir.
Fantasy
Not
dynasty guys. Now we're stuck in kind of limbo, waiting for the draft. Maybe some pro days, but I don't really take anything away from pro days. I'm not. No. They're just standing there tossing the ball. If you're quarterbacks, receivers, or it's just more of showing yourself off. Kind of what the combine is, but on a far less bigger stage.
Yeah, so optimal environments, everything's scripted. It's it's where they're used to lifting. It's where they're used to running. It's
right.
Every blade of grass, where they're going to be running the 40-yard dash. It gets tainted for a reason. It's because it should. But the one guy we didn't reference, John, I thought one of the two of us would have said something about this gentleman since we're on the receivers, although I don't, and I don't believe you think he will ultimately be a receiver in the NFL, and that will be good for him, is Antonio Gibson of Memphis, 6'2", 228, decided to lace him up and run a blistering 4.39 40. Didn't do much of the other testing. Average bench, average vert, average broad, that didn't blow me away. The shuttle on the 3-cone where I'd like to see that kind of change of direction. But what I saw on tape from this kid is explosive with the ball in his hands. Limited production at Memphis, but I think it's because they didn't know what the fuck to do with him. You know what I mean? He is listed as a wide receiver on at Memphis. He was also listed as 6'2", 221, which is a lie. But when he ran the ball, it was just shot out of a cannon, for lack of better words, and decent as a receiver. It was senior year production in 2019. But oh man, if this dude lands in an unsettled backfield and there's even a rumbling that he might get a shot at the running back spot there, I will take Antonio Gibson in the second round.
Even if he becomes a kind of a do-it-all kind of gadget player, that's not the right description, but kind of the Tariq Cohen role, let's say, with the Bears, where he does line up in the slot sometimes. He does get some carries. If he gets the ball, he's going to be productive. I mean, we kind of fell down this hole a little bit with our man crush in Pittsburgh there, whose name is Jalen Samuels. Yeah. He's a guy who can do a lot of things, and he, in my opinion, looks really good doing all of them. So, yeah, I was super impressed. I had him in our first rankings as a running back, and now have moved him. He's my wide receiver 16, and I have no problem probably jumping him over a few of the guys I have ahead of him if he ends up in a landing spot with a creative offensive coach.
Yeah, nice Bert, if you don't know this guy, just as a point of reference, he turned 71 offensive touches into 1,104 yards and 12 touchdowns this past season.
Playing youth football out there.
Listen, we're just looking at a Memphis team that had Darrell Henderson and Tony Pollard. Henderson went high, and then Pollard, who was super productive, as you well know, Burke. They have athletes, and they know how to deploy them, and they found ways to get Gibson the ball. I mean, 15.5 yards every time he touched the ball.
I mean, isn't this time of year supposed to be really, really fun? I mean, this year it's coming in. It just seems really confusing. I mean, do we have a clear cut 1-0-1 this year?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
It seems the rookie mocks I've been in, he seems to be locked in there.
Okay.
I literally did a mock a week apart of DFF, and it was like literally when I just got into looking at rookies, I had the 101 because we just kept the slot in both drafts, and I just right away I just took. I'm sorry, I had 102, and it was a super flex, but let me get it clear. Burrow went 101, and I was not taking Tua at 102, especially in a mock. So I took Swift the first one, and then it's a week later, and easily I hit Jonathan Taylor right at the 102 spot, like that quickly. Things changed for me, and non-super flex, I think Taylor is a lock 101, and you should be going running back heavy out of the gate. I'm going to tell you guys anything you need to know, but
Right.
You're in the top 4 picks. I think at least the top 3. I think they should all be running backs.
Yeah. What order? Taylor?
It'd be Taylor, Swift, Dobbins for me.
Even
Taylor
without the
Swift?
combine?
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Ooh, you're on to something.
You guys haven't heard that on other pods? I'm like, don't do that joke. Come on, guys.
Oh, I haven't heard that yet. The
Damn.
first time I heard anyone say their names in that order, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It is
You
funny
You
if
know
you're-
the gift that's getting put on this episode.
Oh God, freaking middle-aged men and our dumb
Boy,
jokes.
if everyone else is doing it. Fuck it.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a lock, and then Edward Solaire and Cam Akers are going to round out my top 5, and I think they're mid-first picks. But I'll sneak.
I'm hoping I can
in
get-
as number 4, more than likely.
Hoping I can get acres everywhere. Is there any need to dive into these tight ends? Walk.
I got a couple. I got a wide receiver we did not talk about that I was a big fan of, and Walk talked me down a little bit. But Antonio Gandy Golden, that's my guy this year.
Why?
Oh,
He was terrible.
no, he looks good.
No, he doesn't.
I thought he looked good. Thought he looked good at the combine. I like his tape. He dominated lower level competition. 4.6 isn't great. 22 on the bench is good. 36 is okay. 27 on the broad is okay. His 3-cone and shuttle were not that great. But his relative athletic score, 9.45. That is elite.
John, you just went lower level competition. Subpar 40, below average athleticism, checks all the boxes. Antonio Gandy Golden.
Give it to John though. Last year it was Slayton. Is this your guy, huh?
This is my guy in the early going, yes. And Van Jefferson.
Whatever. He's not good. He's just not. He's fucking JJ Arcega-Whiteside at Liberty.
I
you know how
hate
much-
when people say that guy's name.
Do you know how much Arcega Whiteside I have?
0.
Too much.
Too much. No,
Too much.
fucking
No.
too much.
John falls in love with these non-separators. Oh, look how big this fucking guy is. Dreaming. I wish I was 6'4", 223. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
Walker's
He had a
red in the
terrible
face
combine.
right now. I can hear it.
Absolutely terrible combine, in my opinion. He needed to blow the doors off of something other than the bench press to even garner any attention. He had his broad was decent for his size, one of the bigger broads there. His vert, it's not bad for his height, but just his shut on 3-cone were left a lot to be desired. Let's say his 40 was expected. He's just never going to get past that level of competition for me. I will own 0 Antonio Gandy Golden, and I don't give a fuck what he does in the NFL. I will be right.
All right. I mean, he's pretty adamant. You got any response there?
He's not without concerns. I mean, I'm not taking him in the first.
I will. All right. He was wide receiver 25. 3 SIG athletes, just athletic testing. So, comparable athletes within 5 of him above or below who I would take. Devin Duvernay, 1,000,000% would I take over him, who was 20. So I took liberty of 5 there. Below him at 30 is Quintez Cephas from Wisconsin. I'll take Quintez Cephas over Antonio Gandy Golden. And we can look 5 years from now and see did Antonio Gandy Golden outscore either of those 2 individuals.
Deal. Write it down. You got it. Let's go to tight ends.
Like I said, I'm not advocating you take him at fucking 1.02 right behind Taylor.
All right, who's the biggest no school athlete on this list that I could tie myself to? Omar Bayless of Arkansas State. I know absolutely nothing about Mr. Bayless other than his pretty decent name. And he's almost 24 years old, so that scares the shit out of me. But I officially like Omar Bayless more than Antonio Gandy.
Here, listen. We'll get to tight ends quick. Here, the most recent rookie draft we did at DLF, rookie mock. I took Gandy Golden at 3.07. Okay, here's the wide receivers that went behind him. Michael Pittman, who I don't like.
I'll take him.
KJ Hill.
I'll take him.
Van Jefferson.
Take him.
My pick also.
Right.
Isaiah Hodgins.
I'll take
Hodgins.
Him. Yep.
Lynn Bowden. I don't even know who the fuck that is.
Yeah, he was a quarterback / wide receiver at Kentucky, and he also led the SEC in rushing this past year. So go look at that guy.
And Joe Reed. I'm going to write that name down.
It's complicated. Joe Reed. I know nothing about Joe Reed other than he had a great combine and played football at Virginia. But I'm taking every single one of those human beings over Antonio Gandy Golden.
Oh, you're crazy.
Without hesitating. I'm taking Lynn Bowden over him. There's just a chance that he does something in the pros.
See, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think he's got.
What's he got, John? I thought
guys behind him. If you're going to take him in the late third, that's fine. I mean, you can hate him, but it's
if
not
Antonio Gandy Golden, John, if Gandy Golden's tape was exactly the same and he was 6'1", would you like him?
Yeah, I think he looks good.
Why? What, on tape?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to break this.
He's not catching half the balls if he's 6'1". That's where I was going.
I'm gonna have to break this one up. Obviously, we need to do a show on old Gandy and just let you.
We did.
Yeah, we just did.
Jeez, man.
Gandy Golden hour.
We've spoken enough about him, in my opinion.
So when you're grinding in your third and fourth rounds, remember that conversation.
Always care. It matters.
It does. It does.
All right, let's got 10 minutes for tight ends, and that's probably more than enough time.
That's what I'm thinking too, because Moss didn't do anything. We got the guy from Washington that could bench press, but didn't do too well on the other drills. So, Walk, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm not going to try to analyze these guys. This is your department.
Yeah, we can keep this simple. I mean, Thaddeus Moss, we referenced earlier as a Jones fracture. That sucks. I mean, it was I was never that high on him anyway. Yeah, he had the Randy Moss bloodlines, but I never think he was going to be anything super special in the NFL. Albert O went ahead and said, "Let me just run one of the fastest 40s ever by a tight end at 4.49." Guy's 6'5", almost 260 pounds. I mean, just bucking it, but he didn't do anything else. I guess he figured running a super fast 40 was enough. But to your point, Hunter Bryant came in at 6'2", 248. That dude's not supposed to be that big. He's not. I think he wanted to try and show that he could be bigger and be that kind of prototype tight end. He's more of like a 238 guy, in my opinion, and that's what I saw on tape that made him more appealing, and I believe that slowed him down. 4.7, 4.40 is not what I saw on tape. I mean, it looked decent with his 23 bench press, but I'm still on Hunter Bryant. I think he's going to drop that weight back down, probably have a great Washington Pro Day, and hopefully he stays there because he's more Evan Ingram than he's ever going to be Rob Gronkowski. So stop trying to be a tight end at 6'2". Like, you're just not big enough, so don't try and carry around 250 pounds. John's boy Adam Troutman had a good combine from small school. Dayton wasn't particularly fast at 4.8, but had a 6.78 3-cone draw.
Wow.
That is fucking amazing. Like,
elite.
Amazing. 6'5", 255 goes sub-7 on the 3-cone. Like, that doesn't happen. His very broad were disappointing, but that 3-cone was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's show me a little change of direction. You're going to be operating inside a lot. So impressive. Cole Kmet did all right. Nothing special, in my opinion. I don't think he's anything special pre-combine. I don't think he's anything special post. He's a good tight end. He's never going to be great. And then some other guys me and John talked about. Bryson Hopkins, okay. Harrison Bryant from Florida Atlantic, terrible combine.
Yes.
And then a few other incompletes. Jared Pinkney, who looked like he was wearing like an outfit from New Jack City, if I can reference that appropriately during his bench press.
I need to search for this right now.
If you go back and look at it, I mean, he threw up 23 as well. Good for him. But then he almost ran a 5-second 40. So,
What about
not so good? But no, John and I thought they were disappointing pre-combine, and they proved to be as such. Taken away. Josiah DeGuara is a guy from Cincinnati.
Oh yes,
he was decent. I mean, another one, 6'2", 242. Like, be true to your size. Like, carry the weight that you're supposed to. Again, not a blazing 40, but the rest of his testing was decent. 25 on the bench, just absolutely big boy, and a reasonable 3-cone. And then his vert and broad were good, but I like DeGuara. I liked him. I like his tape, and he had he tested reasonably well athletically. So I'm interested in him, seeing where he lands.
What about this Parkinson guy that's 6'7"? I mean, isn't that who's that? Jesse James? Isn't he tall like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just too tall.
Is it? I mean, you think so?
I do. I mean, didn't have a bad combine. I mean, listen, he ran a 4.77 at 6'7". We were just talking about DeGuara running a 4.72 and Bryant running a 4.74. So didn't move slow for his size, but and all around like okay on the 3-cone and decent bench. Like nothing against Mr. Parkinson, but I wasn't crazy about the little bit I watched of him before, and testing as an 18% NFL athlete is pretty much a death now. I don't even know if he gets drafted. Well, he'll probably get drafted. But.
He's a Stanford guy, so he's going to get drafted. That's just how it works. But.
Yeah, so I mean that's my quick and dirty synopsis. And that's not even talking about the tight end one on 3 Sigma athletes, Dalton Keene out of Virginia Tech, who I'm going to freely admit I don't know shit about this guy, but he tests as an 80% athlete. Looks like mostly due to a big broad jump and a decent 3-cone, 7.07 3-cone. So maybe I'll look at him a little bit, but I haven't even ever heard anyone reference Dalton Keene.
I thought he looked good doing the drills at the combine. Like he was somebody whose name I jotted down with a little upward pointing arrow.
That sounds like you.
Yep. His numbers didn't. Nothing amazing. 21 reps on the bench, 4.71 in the 40, 34-inch vertical, 125 on the broad. It's all pretty meh. But I thought the same. I mentioned when we started, he looked fluid. He looked comfortable doing the drills. He looked like a football player, even though I don't love his measurables. But I'm sure adjusting for his size and everything, he was one of the top scorers too for. The relative athletic. Actually, he might have been the top tight end.
Dalton Keene, who amassed 750 yards and 8 touchdowns in 3 seasons at Virginia Tech. Yeah, okay. That's moving on. Who's the guy to get hit in the face during the goal?
Oh, let me tell you, Mitchell Wilcox. Wilcox. I didn't even see him get hit in the face live, and I watched it. And we were joking during the combine. I'd sent that screenshot out of my notes on him, which is just his name with a big circle and an X through it. He looked horrific in everything he did. And I mean, I'm not trying to pile on. I mean, maybe the ball hit in the face had an effect on everything from that point forward, but that didn't impact anything that happened before it. And he was awful.
Yeah, listen, when you're a super senior at South Florida, playing your redshirt senior season, and getting peppered right in the face. He didn't flinch when he got hit with that football, though. If anything, I'll tell you, Mr. Wilcox is a tough individual that I'm not going to say anything bad about. But, yeah, that's the only thing I'll ever know about Mitchell Wilcox is he took a ball in the face in the gauntlet and didn't flinch. Caught the next one.
4.88, 31-inch vertical, 112 broad, like not good.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Lowest scoring relative athletic score among the tight ends, 2.51, which is
good
terrible.
luck in your next career, Mr. Wilcox. You can say you participated at the combine because you ain't fucking getting drafted.
Take that South Florida degree and put it to good use after 5 years in school.
Yeah, tourism and hospitality management. I see you in your future.
Go manage a cruise ship riddled with the coronavirus.
Yeah,
stuck out in the ocean
for months.
Anything else we want to pile on?
It's a good place to wrap.
Yeah, there's a lot more to talk. We probably glossed over some guys, but I'm at a 4-minute mark for my real job, so I'm not even going to look back and see who we did not speak highly enough or shit on
Oh, there's plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Oh yeah, we got a lot. Listen, we didn't just reference. We didn't talk about Chase Claypool at all, or Denzel Mims, who had tremendous combines, athletics. Brandon Ayuk, as well. I don't particularly like any of the three guys, but everyone's starting to love them now, especially Denzel Mims. So I'm gonna have to look back at him. But no, it's like I said, this is a more questions than answers time of year for me, unfortunately.
Yep. No worries, man. Like I said, I'm just in limbo, confused. I really got to get. I'm going to go off tape, not the combine this year, especially with Jerry Jeudy dropping quite a bit. But I mean, I don't want to go back in the past, but you think he's going to fall quite a bit in the draft? Last question.
Jerry Jeudy is going in the first round of the NFL draft.
Still?
Yeah.
John?
I believe. I think he'll still be
I don't
the
think
second wide receiver taken.
people love him.
Yeah, I think he's a coach's guy.
I can't wait for the draft.
Does he go before Ruggs? There's our exit poll. Does he go before Ruggs? Because people
He does
get
not.
blown away by those
No,
time scores.
Cincinnati's going to draft.
I think Ruggs might have jumped him, and I don't agree with it. But
I guess Cincinnati can.
Ruggs might have jumped him. I listen. I still think there's a chance Rager goes ahead of him, but he's even if he's late first round, he's a first round guy. I can see the Raiders taking Jerry Jeudy with their second first round pick. What's that, 19? All day long.
Yeah.
They need receiver help. That looks like a guy that Gruden would absolutely love. So
We'll end it there.
get rid of one Alabama guy for another.
All right.
Hit the reset button.
Well, that'll shut it down. We're looking for sponsors, old fuel bags. Where'd you go?
Yeah, we're fantasy free agents again, guys.
We are free agents. So
come at us.
we're down for any opportunities, but make sure to check us out on all the platforms. We need some rating and subscribing and some comments on the old, what do they call it now? Apple Podcast. It's no longer iTunes. So on the old Apple Podcast app, leave us some ratings. We would be greatly appreciated. But
We ask you for nothing. But
We don't ask for
downloads
much.
and say something nice about us once in a while.
Yeah, or at least just hop on the Twitter and say hello. That'll be nice as well.
Yeah.
So
Get rid
we will shut it down there. I think I'm contracting the virus as we speak. For myself, Andrew Burke, John Dabari, and Matt Walker, we're the Fantasy 40, and we're signing off.
So that's where Burke's been in all that time. Quarantine.
I know. I didn't want to tell
He's
you
at ground
guys.
zero.
I did not want to tell you guys.
He's the outbreak monkey.
I am. I fucking started it. And I'm infecting everyone I come in contact with. So.
All right, I'm running.
All right. I gotta
Later.
go. Talk to you guys later.